I have spotted some patterns with the Total War community over the years, and I find it hilarious how similar it is every time. This is the 7 stages of Total War that the community go through. I think most of us do go through all of these phases, but at different rates to one another. Stage 1 I call the Speculation Phase. This mostly takes place on YouTube and on online forums, where the community speculate on what can come next. Ideas are put forth, people message CA on Twitter, and YouTubers milk it for views. Like, how many videos have been made about Medieval 3 lately? We are sort of always in this phase, as it is natural for one person to always be excited about the next big thing, and often that can lead to them ignoring the present. Right now, there's a lot of talk about Warhammer 3, Medieval 3, and even Empire 2 amongst the community. However, only CA can break us out of this phase, and that is by actually announcing the next title. We then enter the hype phase.
Having the aerial kind of combat, that could really change the way sieges really are implemented.
Very good point.
You've got the trifecta there, haven't you? You've got land battles, naval battles, and then with Warhammer bringing in aerial battles.
Could you imagine if you had dragons swooping in to destroy navies? That would probably be quite OP, though.
It could happen. Swoop in, take off the sails.
Well, good point you mentioned that, because
You're kidding. This is so cool.
Where the community is often overjoyed by the trailer and want to know as much as possible, YouTubers do breakdown and speculation videos, taking advantage of this as much as possible, playing mods that are set in a similar time frame also. I actually read a full book about the Trojan War for Troy's release. Oh, that was helpful. The next phase is the silence before the storm. The silent phase. Eventually the hype does wear down, and CA does nothing to really pump more interest into it. All the talk becomes about the last title's final DLC. Not much more to say here really. It's a very dull phase. Next, the Disappointment Phase. The storm has hit. It is time for CA to release the information they have been holding back for as long as possible. The community reacts and often does describe it as a dead game from launch. Whether that be day 1 DLC, pre-order DLC, the theme of it not being what they expected, it's getting delayed type of announcement, gameplay is shown and looks nothing like the trailer, or it's an epic exclusive.
And then the DLC was a bit insulting.
the content of Attila's current DLCs and, you know, what we think about them.
Controversial!
Yes!
Before launch, there is always something that can anger the community. Some titles more than others though. The next phase is the launch phase, which is really split into two parts. Part 1 being the "this is the best Total War ever, wow, it's so great." Generally speaking, people are blinded by hype again. It is new, it is shiny, so people are of course excited. But then, truth does sink in. They realise the flaws, and then decide their opinion from there. Sometimes they may still like it afterwards, but not always. I'll be honest, as a YouTuber, this is a difficult bit, because we all get early access, and get stuck in that same hype. We have to rush out videos at the time. You know, you've got to understand our position. We're excited, but we're also being rushed, so we often give very positive reviews, as we cannot really have the time to sink our minds into it enough.
Having played quite a few hours of Total War Warhammer now, it's given me a lot of time to reflect on, I guess, the good and the bad of it. Things that they introduced into the game are really good, and they need to be acknowledged, but at the same time, the shit that they have stripped from campaign also needs to be acknowledged, because it's totally unacceptable.
That is how we feel at the time, but then truth sinks in, and we often get called out for lying originally.
You know what's funny is I thought Rome 2 was arcadey.
Either being purposefully negative to get more views or purposefully positive. But either way, a lot of that could actually be true at the time they make that video. Believe it or not, but YouTubers are still human. We are still limited. Excluding, myself, excluding MELKOR, we are all limited. Depending on the game, there's a period of time where people are playing it, they may love it, and continue to play it later down the line. Or it could have a quick die-off. These are the two different paths it could take. Either way, the stage after is the Analyst Phase, where people look deeply into what makes it so good or so bad, and talk about how mechanics can be fixed or used or improved upon in the future. This is the stage often where the super over-the-top analysts come in, and often the community gets divided and split up. And then, my favourite stage of all, I call this one, well, it wasn't that bad really. Usually it does take about a year or two before we get to this point, but eventually you will probably look back onto that game and say that it really wasn't that bad, and the game may begin to see a slight resurgence. A lot of people lately have gone through this with Attila. Of course, this is not a perfect list, everybody does differ, but the general community and YouTubers seem to fall into this same pattern every single time. I am also a bit of a Call of Duty fan, and this same method does work there as well. Total War is a lot like Call of Duty in a way. They both release a full game every year that relies, for the most part, on hype. These games are often very similar from the last, which some people do like and some people dislike. Both have communities that love the new titles and those that look back to the good old days. And then there's that complete overhaul game that becomes very controversial in the community. Both release with multiple game modes, both are produced by multiple separate teams to actually get it out every year, and even both were published by Activision at some point. As a fan of both, I can spot how far apart these two gaming franchises really are. But I can also see how similar their communities can sometimes be. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown of your mind. It will be interesting to see how this plays out with Warhammer 3 or Medieval 3. We are certainly speculating it. I can certainly see there being a lot of hype upon announcement. There will be an awkward silence once the hype wears off, and CA will at some point release some disappointing news. The odds are this will happen. I just hope it doesn't kill it all instantly, of course. And so on, the story will continue from there. I do want to also say that fitting into this pattern is okay. There is nothing wrong with fitting into this pattern or not fitting into this pattern. To tell people that this game is amazing on launch only to hate it the next day or vice versa is completely normal. It's just how the human mind does work. We like new shiny stuff, and that does often blind our true senses. Let me know down in the comments if this overall does also fit you, and any examples you may have. Also, let me know where it differs. I have been MELKOR. Subscribe for more, like if you enjoyed, and share with anybody you think may find this video useful, or possibly went through it also. But for now, until the next one, tomorrow's video, goodbye.